Thanks for the sub. It just feels very awkward saying this. Making a vid about this soon. I don't really plan on making a video, but I'm going to address everything on stream. So I have a doc written up. I'm gonna post it in chat. Um, I'm gonna post it in chat, and this is a lot of stuff. So if you guys want to follow along with me, because I'm going to be going over a lot of the things that I said in the doc first, before I explain anything else. Yeah, I don't sub. This just isn't the time and place. All right. So, this all started when Asian Persuasion made they made a doc against me. The truth about Eli IntelEdits, and in this doc, she claims that I groomed her, that I used my power dynamic with my YouTube channel to take advantage of her, and claims that I was into terrible stuff, including like really big age gaps and stuff. And she claims a lot of stuff. And I'm gonna explain. I do want to say first of all that I want to be held accountable for like what I've done, because I'm definitely not like the good guy in this situation, and I do want to be held accountable for that. But I don't want to be held accountable for stuff that I didn't do, because I did not groom her. I did not do any of that stuff. I was not into any of the stuff that she said, and there's just a lot of big misinformation here. So it starts off with how I met her. She said that I reached out to her. She initially reached out to me. She gave me $2 super chats on September 21st of 2020 in a YouTube stream where she said, please say ooh. And then she said, can you get IQ 18 to say ooh, which is just like another person. He's like a friend of mine. Um, and that was like my first ever interaction with her. She's and I had already been sort of aware of her at this point, right? Because I knew her on Twitter, and I had actually played a game on of Bed Wars with her, with Poppy Ashley at one point. So I had known of her, and she wasn't like completely new to me. So I said like thanks for the donations and stuff, and I didn't like interact with her until this tweet. And this was in this tweet on October 12th or October 2nd. I tweeted out in need of an Asian girlfriend, and then she responded, hey. So she was started taking like an interest in me at that point, and I was sort of interested as well. And at that point, we started talking. So first of all, like I just want to make sure I did not like reach out to her. She reached out to me, and she like says that I reached out to her on in her doc. But I followed her, and then I just followed her. I didn't DM her immediately, but then she tweeted out. I forget what she tweeted out, but it was something like that was sort of depressing, right? Like it was concerning. So I just sent her the tweet, and I just said hope everything is all good, just to try and be a little bit supportive. And then here's how we started sort of like talking directly to each other for the first time. Yeah, if we have any mods in chat, I think just turn off chat, because the chat's just going to be super chaotic and nothing's going to come from it. So after I started talking to her, she was at day one just a very, very flirty person. She would say a lot of really sexual stuff. And one of the first things that she said was like, what's your favorite hentai, right? And like, obviously you can take that in the context of a joke, right? And I said LMAO. I said I just named like the only like fucking hentai that I knew off the top of my head. She said bet BRB, implying that she was gonna get off to it. Um, but like this is sort of just like joke stuff. This is joke territory. This isn't enough to like say for sure that like she was trying to do stuff. Um, but that kind of behavior would continue a lot. Then she asked for my rice purity score, which is like sort of like an online test that, if you don't know what it is, it's sort of just of like how quote unquote innocent that you are. A lot of it is very sexual. So I said, like, I don't know, I've never taken it, but like you can ask me like any question. And then she asks, like, she gets into it immediately, and she's like, "Are you a virgin?" And from here, things start going sexual, and that's sort of like how it started. And one thing that I want to make very clear from this is that I had no intentions of initiating any like sexual conversation with her. I had absolutely none, and I was sort of just like I was just matching her energy really, and like I didn't mind it, right? And I'm still wrong for that. I should have never like talked to her in any sexual way whatsoever. Um, but yeah, so things just got sexual very soon, very fast. Um, One thing that she would constantly do throughout our relationship, so from the beginning to like the very end, and this is something that's very important, is she would sexualize herself as a younger person, and it was very, very disgusting. It was very awkward at first, and she did this a lot, and this started when we were sort of like talking about our ages. So one thing that I want to clear up is that at the time we started talking, she was 17, turning 18 in July, and I was 20. There was a 2 year and 10-month age gap between us, and a lot of people on Twitter are like, "Oh, she's like a minor," right? And they're like, "You're in the wrong. You're a pedo." But I personally, my personal standpoint on that is that it's just not really a big deal. The age gap between us was not. Um, I told her that like if she was like younger, I would not be like interacting with her at all. But like, I feel like a lot of people, especially on Twitter, they act like the second you turn 18, you sort of evolve like a Pokemon into like a different like person, which I feel like a lot of people aren't take like they're seeing what she's saying, but they're like excusing it as like they're excusing it as ignorance on her part.
$2.
Okay, I
Fucking
need to
pedo lol.
turn that off. Hold up. But yeah, so if you think that I know I'm not gonna be able to like convince a lot of people. If you think that 2 year 10-month age gap is like super bad, then I mean I don't know what to say. But I mean I didn't think it was bad at the time, and nobody who I talked to thought it was bad at the time either. Because our relationship was public. So, but with Megan, she would be sexual like a lot, and I'm gonna explain into detail a lot of the things that she said going into November. She said that instead of doing no nut November, she was gonna nut every day in November, which sounds really fucking cringe to say, but as something that she literally said and something that she literally did and something that she explained every day. She was constantly sending me sexual messages every day. This was not like a few times occurrence. This was something that was happening often. It was bad. I wish I could disable like the sound effect for subs and stuff. I'm sorry, but yeah, it was very disgusting. But I went with it, right? Because I had also like taken an interest in her, and I had also like I didn't really like it was reciprocated like it was reciprocated both ways, and that's like the main thing is that it wasn't neither her or me who were like being the main ones encouraging it. It was like we were both doing it, and this is just something that like it was just part of our relationship, and I don't see I don't know, like it's more of something that I'd rather keep private, of course. Like it's not something that I'd want to let my audience know that like the person who I'm dating, I'm just saying sexual stuff is I'm saying sexual stuff to, but like the reality is that like that's part of what is it called, a Twitter space, which is like essentially the same thing as a stream on Twitter, and it's just going to be a little bit safer, I think, to do that. So I'm going to try and get that set up. So definitely like just look at my Twitter, and if you want to know more about this situation, I'm gonna pick more up on it there.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna pick up where I sort of left off. So, if you're just joining, I just wanted to take a moment to explain everything, sort of elaborate on a lot of the things from the doc, and also just explain a lot of stuff that I didn't write, that wasn't on paper, because there's definitely still a lot of misinformation in Megan's doc that I do want to cover. Um, So yeah, the pretty much the entire duration of when I talked to Megan, which was October of 2020 to January of 2021, she was like very sexual, extremely sexual, would constantly be super flirty, would constantly do like a lot of like uh would constantly say a lot of just like sexual shit. Um and I was actually not like it's the only exclusive person that she had that she was doing that with. I know that there's other people which I'm not gonna like directly mention, but if they want to come out, then they can. But there's other like people who she was being very sexual to as well. Anyways, we got into a relationship where um I was very emotionally dependent off of her, and that's sort of like the best way to explain it. Because I had feelings for her, which was like I feel like something that she didn't emphasize a lot in her thing outside of everything sexual. We had like we had a normal relationship where we like we talked often, and I was really into her, and I really didn't want to lose that. And I can remember the first time that she brought up the whole age gap thing, and we like did a fucking like role play shit, and she asked me after. She said like, have you ever done that with like anyone else before? And I said no. Like I've never done that. I'm not like I'm not sure how to feel about it. And she said, like God, it's so hard to find people right. I remember explicitly that was a message that she sent, implying that I was not the first person that she was doing this kind of stuff with. And at the time, it made me feel very, I don't know, sort of obligated in a way. Like I wanted a sense of self validation from her. And I know that's like a shitty ass excuse, and I 100% agree. I wish I used my better judgment, but I was so fucking like I was just sort of obsessed with her, and I I made a lot of terrible decisions. I went along with a lot of the stuff that she said, and she would initiate so many of these conversations involving age gaps, involving rape, involving abuse, involving stuff like kidnapping. Like there's a lot, and most of this happened on Snapchat. So unfortunately, I don't have the ability to like show 100% direct proof, but I can remember exactly the things that she would tell me. She would tell me that she fantasized about her teacher in freshman year of high school taking her home and fucking her. Okay, here, hold up. Can I like mute my microphone? Sorry, I just have like family coming in. One second. Okay, sorry. Yeah, you can. Okay, sorry about that. She would tell me that when she was in her freshman year of high school, she had like a math teacher who would like who she really like fantasized over, and I remember her telling me that that like teacher took her out for I think it was like some type of competition or something. And then when they were like driving home, she asked him if like she could take him to his home so they could like do shit. But like he denied the request. But like one of the things that she mentioned like a lot whenever we sexted was she's like I fantasize. She was saying how like she fantasized that that teacher took her home that day and what would happen. And it was just some very very disgusting stuff. Very very disgusting stuff. And I regret entirely in taking part of it. And I was able to like mentally justify it by like saying in my head like, oh, this shit isn't real, like, so it's okay, which is I know 100% wrong. But I was just in such a shitty fucking mental state that I was able to justify for participating in any of that with her. And I feel terrible. I feel absolutely miserable for that. I have had so much trouble within the last 6 months waking up and going to sleep without feeling the weight of my words and everything that I said, because I said messed up stuff. I said terrible things. And when I think about the abuse victims who have gone through those kind of things, who have gone through actual legitimate grooming, and like I know people who have gone through that too, it just makes me feel sick to my stomach. But it was something that was a big turn on for her. And at one point in almost every sexual conversation that we initiated with each other, it was a topic that was brought up, and she wanted to talk about it. And I included a few screenshots in my document of her sexualizing herself as a 13-year-old, and that was not the only time. Like that, it was far from the only time. And things got so much more vulgar on Snapchat, and the things that she said, I don't even know if I want to repeat because they're just simply disgusting. And it's, I just feel so much shame and regret for ever taking part of it. It's, whenever I first got into a relationship with her, and I'm not saying this as an excuse, but this was the peak of self quarantine for me. I was living an extremely unhealthy lifestyle. I had been staying in my room pretty much like 24/7. Um, my IRL friends were at college, and one of my IRL friends, like one of my close ones, he goes to college out of state. So I wasn't like meeting with people IRL, and it just completely fucked with my mental. And when I started to get to know her, I just felt like I didn't want to lose her. I felt like because she was a cool person. When I was talking to her, she was a cool person. We clicked in a lot of ways that weren't just sexual. And I was just so afraid to lose that. So I said a lot of shit that I I just regret, entirely regret saying, and I just feel like completely trash for it. And I do want to address some other things. First of all, about the fact that she was a fan. And this annoys me because not once during like she did not explain that she was a fan at all. She did not hint that she was a fan at all. She did not say any of that stuff, right? And the fact that she's trying to put like she's spreading a narrative that I knew she was a fan and that I took advantage of her. She was saying that she donated to my stream, so I should have known that she was a fan. When she donated $4 worth of super chats during a singular live stream, right? A singular live stream. She wasn't an active chatter. This was during one live stream, and the donation messages weren't anything like I'm such a big fan of your content, keep up the good work. It wasn't anything like that. It was to tell me to say uwu. So I don't know how from that I'm supposed to piece together that you're a super big fan of mine, because I just saw it as a kind gesture. I saw it as she was spending money to get like sort of a to get like a meme reaction. And whenever I talked to her, there was no power dynamic through any of our conversations. I was actually very, very cautious whenever talking to her because I desperately wanted to make sure like the relationship worked out. So I was like, yo, like if there's anything that I can do, like please say it, you know? Like I was trying desperately to make the relationship work. And I told her on multiple occurrences, like, if there's like, if you don't want to be doing this stuff, then like tell me and leave. We don't have to. Like, if there's anything else that you want to do, like, I was a very flexible person throughout that entire relationship, and people are saying like, oh, you had a platform, like you should have known regardless that um that like you're gonna have like an impact, and it's just not that black and white when you're actually put in that situation where this like I this was just someone who I met off of Twitter, and I just like all I wanted was like a relationship, right? And she never told me directly that she was a big fan. And when she did tell me directly, I said immediately, I said I would never even like consider going to any of my fans for any sexual favors or anything like that. And I stand by that. That's absolutely disgusting. I would never do that. But it's just I know that she's definitely exaggerating the living shit out of that whole narrative, and it's just disgusting to see because throughout our entire relationship there was absolutely no power. There's no power dynamic. And yeah, so what happened after the doc? I sort of ended the doc abruptly, but things sort of like happened after where I sort of left off. So we started dating like around December, and then we stopped dating in the same month, so we only did it for like a short time, right? And going into January, I was honestly sort of getting like my little wake up call. I was sort of feeling like really disgusted being in part of like a relationship with her. And I had sort of just started actively avoiding her at that point. I started talking to her less. I started just like keeping my distance from her because I just felt like really weirded out. And um, at this point, we weren't dating, so that was like completely fine. A few weeks later, she went to a few individuals. She went to Strobed. It was sort of a big group chat, but I remember some of the highlight individuals were Strobe, Specular Burrito, and Specular Potato, and there were some other people in that group chat. And at the time, this was before Strobe had like gotten canceled for saying like racist things. So like he was sort of like, um, he was a drama person on Twitter, like or not on Twitter, but like on YouTube. Like he created videos like covering drama, like exposing people. So she went to him, I'm assuming with the intention to get me exposed. And this was during like the end of January. And some of the things that were said to them was that one, I liked lollies. Never fucking said that. It's just completely not true. Two, she said that I would fly her out for $2,000 to come to like my place and fuck her, which I've never said anything close to that. Never said anything close. There's no fucking. I've never said anything like that. And then three, that I was into like a lot of like really fucking bad shit. So with this whole group chat, right? They also thought that I was 22 years old. And I asked Megan about this. She denies it completely, ever telling them that I was 22. So I don't know where they got this idea from, but they thought I was 22. And that makes it like an even larger age gap, 22, 17. That's like a 5 year age gap. Um, so I had to go on a call with them. I fucking pulled out my driver's license to show that like I was not a 22-year-old. Once again, I don't know where like who started that rumor. Um, Megan completely denies it. I don't know if I believe her or not. Um, and one of the things that she said that I was able to completely prove wrong was that I had told them, or I had told her to lie to them about the situation and say like it was all fake or something, when in reality I never did that. And like because I did go to Megan and I asked her like what the fuck was going on. Like I asked her like what are you telling to these people, and then she immediately apologized. She was like, I'm so sorry. And then she said, I like listen, I'm gonna like try to create like a lie to try to put you in the clear, because the last thing that I want is to damage your reputation and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I was still in like disbelief, and I am responsible for saying okay. But she she goes to them, right? She doesn't come up with a lie. She doesn't do that at all. She tells them that I told her to make a lie, right? When it was like her fucking idea to do that. And um I had screenshots of that. Like I caught her in 4K and I showed the group chat that, and like she just completely lied about that. Um we sort of had like a 3 hour long call where we were just like explaining our POVs, right? And the general consensus of everyone that was in that group chat was that um they were gonna keep this like low key. We both fucked up. We both said like weird shit. It was a really fucking like bad relationship, and we both should just like move on and never talk to each other again. So I remember after that, um, after that happened, I messaged Megan and I told her like I'm so sorry if you ever felt like if you ever felt this way throughout our relationship. And she said, no, no, it's fine. Like the last thing that I wanted was to make things public, which is like sort of ironic right now. But we had stuff settled in DMs, and from there on, like I just stopped talking to her. I never interacted with her. And we just went our separate ways. And I mean, I was put out under an extreme amount of stress and anxiety because that situation just completely fucked with my mental. Um, but this whole situation resurfaced 6 months later when this was actually after the Avery situation happened. She reached out to advisor and told advisor all the same things that she had told specular burrito and specular potato and strobed in that group chat 6 months ago. um, and it was very, very fucking awkward because I got into a call with her advisor potato and Megan, um, and I had to explain everything again, and I was very unprepared. She had that whole call recorded, and I did not know about that at all. Um, she had that whole call recorded, and I didn't have I didn't have proof on me because this came out of like fucking nowhere, and I wasn't prepared at all. So it just looked like it looked pretty bad on my part because she was just hammering with like fucking allegations, showing like screenshots, and I couldn't it was just mostly like an argument. And um so after that, after that whole sort of call happened, um it was really fucking awkward for me and advisor. um and it sort of took me a while. At that point I started creating like a document. I started collecting proofs. So the document that you see that I posted, that's not a new document. That document has existed for well over a month because I have been like preparing with like the intention that had like she was going to like try to make it public. I was very prepared. um I started creating a doc. I went to advisor. I showed him all the proof that I had gathered, and that sort of changed his point of view on things. I went to other people who were involved. I showed them, and yeah. So that's pretty much everything that happened up to date. But um, I'm so like I just want to look at her Twitter right now, really quickly. There's just some of the things that she posted I just completely disagree with, and it's just so fucking disgusting. Let me go to her tweet really quickly. He said, going into this, I knew Eli was going to have a counter argument created. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. He is very smart and definitely manipulative. He will definitely take things that I said out of context to blame it on me. I mean, our whole relationship, I was the exact opposite of manipulative. I was very like, I wanted to do everything that she wanted to do. Like I wanted to I was very, very cautious. There's a screenshot in my doc where I said so too, myself, and this was not something that I only said once. This was something that like I reinforced throughout the entire relationship. Let me go to it very quickly. She told me that she had like a little bit of like concerns on our relationship doing sexual stuff, and my first reaction immediately, I said, "Yeah, I respect that. I'd still like to keep talking to you as a friend, and I'm glad that you told me now instead of waiting and feeling like shit about that." And I was very open once again throughout the entire relationship that if she had like any problems, if she was feeling like any ways, then I wanted to help her feel like the very best that she could. And so we stopped talking sexually for a brief period, but then she brought it up again, and I did shit with her, and it sort of just picked back up again. But I mean, she even says herself, I definitely blame myself because I was talking to you, because when I was talking to you, I was definitely interested in other things than just talking and being friends, which is accurate throughout the entire relationship. She was very sexual. She wanted to do a lot of sexual things, like always. Um, yeah, I don't know. I One of the things that I just can't get off my mind is how sort of like how this person who's coming out and saying that I groomed her and all that, like all that other crazy stuff, is someone that I had feelings for. And that is just completely mind numbing to me because I had genuine feelings for her. She definitely had the intention of, like exposing me. Like if you look at like some of the screenshots that she had, they were taking on the very same day that they were posted. And like when she was taking those screenshots, she was actively participating in the same, if not worse, behavior. And it's fucking crazy to me because I never expected that from her. It's such a fucking mess. And I want to take accountability for the shit that I did wrong. The stuff that I said to her, everything said while role playing was disgusting. It was disgusting. I feel terrible about it. I've been feeling terrible about it ever since 6 months ago, or 7 months ago at this point, when she went to like fucking like potato and like a burrito and shrugged. I like I fucking saw how bad it looked. I was like, holy shit, this is terrible. This is disgusting. And that was sort of like the wake up call for me. And ever since then, it's just been like I just live with the weight of my words every fucking day. I've gotten to multiple friends ever since that situation has happened. I've talked to them about it. This has been terrible on my mental, not just for today, but for months now, because I just feel disgusted. I just feel disgusted that I took part in like this fake relationship where I felt like I had to fucking like reciprocate her fucking gross fucking kinks to be able to please her. And just looking back on it, I feel disgusted. And I mean, I'd also want to make very clear, I'm not into kids. I'm not a fucking pedophile. That shit's disgusting. Um, for people to be calling me a pedo is probably one of the most mentally degrading things that I've ever experienced in my entire life because I genuinely fucking think it's disgusting. I would never, I would never reach out to any of my fans for sexual favors. That's just like it's absolutely fucking disgusting. And the fact that she painted our relationship in that narrative it just blows my mind. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel completely terrible. Like for all the stuff that I said, and I want to take accountability for it. If you if you hate me for that, you have all the reason to. I want to take accountability for the shit that I said because it definitely is not it's definitely fucked. And no matter what I say, it's not going to excuse the fact that I did not back out. And that's one of the things that I regret the most is that as soon as she brought up like the whole topic of age gaps, why didn't I just stop fucking talking to her? I fucking regret that entirely. So I want to be held accountable for that. I think I I did something disgusting, and that's the truth. But I don't want to be held accountable for things that didn't happen. And once again, I'm making this very clear. I never groomed her. I never took advantage of like a power dynamic. There was no power dynamic throughout our relationship. Absolutely none. If I go to our DMs, and I'm gonna do this right now. If I go to our DMs and I just search up fan, right? She doesn't even mention anything about being a fan until January. And we started talking in October. So this was way after. And she said, which I find very ironic, we were talking about the Call Me Carson situation, right? Because I don't know, like, if this, like, I'm pretty sure that it was still, like, recent at this point. This was during, like, the beginning of January. And she, like, in our conversation, she like asked me, do you know like the Call Me Carson situation? I said, yeah. And she said they're literally canceling over a 2-year age gap. And then I said, I'm waiting for more things to come out. And then she said, and quote unquote grooming, I think it's bullshit, TBH. And then she compares his situation to what was happening between us. And she says, like, okay, I'm 17 and I was a fan of you. I sure as hell know that I could say no if I didn't want to. And I only did things that I wanted to. First of all, she's saying that she was like she wasn't affected by any sort of power dynamic at all. But my response to this immediately, I said, yeah, I think it's weird to go to fans for sexual relationships. I never went to you because I knew you watched me. I actually didn't know that at all. This whole screenshot is in the replies to my original tweet. And I was caught off guard by this because when she originally said it, like I was like, what the fuck? Like she never told me this. And a large part of her narrative is that she like quote unquote implied it, right? And there wasn't even like anything implied. Like if she was like a really big fan, like she said, she made sure that like she covered that up. She made sure that I knew as less about it as possible because she never directly told me that. She like we only talked about YouTube a handful of times, right? And sometimes, I'll bring up my videos and stuff because, she's asking me what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, I'm recording a video because, content creation is part of my lifestyle. It's impossible to like, not talk about. But I never at any point was like, oh, like you can be in a video if you want, or like, oh, like, you can come on stream with me or anything like that. Those things are definitely taking advantage of like the power dynamic. I never said that at all. I never like even bragged about my YouTube. It was not something that was brought up often, and I just don't see how I could have known that she was a fan. And honestly, I just think it's cap. Like I feel like it's cap, and I feel like it's only like just part of her narrative to make me look worse than it is, because she did not say that at all through our like relationship. She didn't like. I just don't know how she could say that but not act like that at all. But yeah.